is 8 o'clock. We start on time. We're happy to see all of you. We have seats set for 123, and it looks like we filled almost all of them. We do have a remote room in the Buell building. So if we run out of space, we're probably going to send people that way. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the candidates for being here. This is Montrose Forum. My name is Kathy Evers. I'm one of the 4 facilitators. Judy Ann Files up front, who is doing logistics today. Barbara Bynum, who will be running technology today. Phoebe Benziger, who's the timer. And if you're not familiar with the forum, our purpose is simply to present information to the people in our area. We're not political, we have no agenda. We're welcome to suggestions for programs. Again, our purpose is simply to inform. There are a lot of people who support us, specifically Colorado Mesa University. Steve Matheny is live streaming on Facebook today. He's at the front table. Tammy Duncan, Jim Aragon, who always sets up for us each week. We are also supported by the city of Montrose in that they send Will Woody, who's in the back of the room. He videos it and puts it on the city's YouTube channel each week, so people who are not in attendance can view it that way. We just have a wealth of support. So we thank all the people who help us do this. And CMU does that at no cost to us because we have no money.
Who does?
Zero-based budget group. The format for today will be a little bit different. Each candidate has 7 minutes. In that 7 minutes, they are to cover any or all of the following: an introduction or bio of themselves, a statement of why they're running, an outline of the issues they believe are facing us, a brief synopsis of their priorities, final comments, and anything else then that they wish to add if they have time. Our timer will be, for those of you candidates who are watching that, our timer will be marking time downward. So she'll give you 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then you better be wrapping it up. It's the policy at forum to run from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We will run over today because we have more candidates than we have time for. And in fact, 2 candidates came, even though they aren't speaking, simply to be recognized and be a presence and be here in case you would like to visit with them. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Candidates, when you speak, it doesn't work, hit the mic, it's here. It's got to be up here. So if you will do that, and again, watch the timer. After I begin with the first couple of introductions, I will pass the mic to you, and you will just pass the mic to each other. I'll be out of the picture till we're all done, and then I'll conclude the meeting, and Barbara will tell us about next week. Okay,
Can I make a quick plug?
Oh,
If you
are not on our forum email list, we've got a great QR code. You just sign yourself up for that email. We send out an email every Saturday morning telling you what's going to happen the following Wednesday. And then we also have the topic for the following 3 weeks, if we know what they are, at the bottom of that email, a link to the YouTube channel where you can watch the forum. Like Kathy said, we don't have any budget because we are free. We don't charge you anything. So if you want to get on the email list and get an email from us, come sign yourself up. You do have to occasionally open that email, or the program will automatically assume you don't want to get them anymore, and you won't get them anymore. So open them once in a while. And anyway, if you want, because I see a lot of regulars this morning, thank you all, and I see some new people. So if you want to come, and you want to come in the future, come and see one of these. Thanks.
Also, we do have some seats. For those of you looking, there's one couple here, two back there. If you will raise your hands again where there are empty seats. If you would find those empty seats, you won't have to stand. Okay, then I think we're good to go. The first two candidates I'd like to introduce are two people who are not speaking, but have indicated that they were interested in being present. And the first one, Barbara, is Robert Logan. Robert is from Durango, and he heard about this and emailed. We knew we had time constraints, so we went only so far down our ballot, and Robert found out about it. And he emailed me, and he said, I'd really like to come and speak. And I said, we really don't have time. And he said, well, I'd like to come anyway. And so he did. And that precipitated our inviting also his opponent, if you would stand please, Ray Scott, out of Grand Junction. So, again, they will not be speaking, but they would certainly like to tell you about being a CU regent. And if you would stay after and visit with either of them, they'd be happy to talk to you. With that said, we'll begin with our first candidate. The candidates are speaking alphabetically by position. And so our first speaker is, who is it? Adam Frisch.
Good morning, everybody. I'll kick it off here. Usually when I have 7 minutes unscripted, I pull out a ukulele and play that, but we're not going to do that today. Just want to give you a quick update as we drive around this beautiful district of ours. On the bio side, I actually grew up in Fort Peck Indian Reservation in northeastern Montana. If you can imagine where Canada, North Dakota, and Montana come together. My dad was in the Indian Health Service for 5 years. And so I've had real roots from literally day one, born in Williston, North Dakota. My dad's father came over from Europe, escaped Nazis, and grew up in a mining town, iron ore and taconite up in Virginia, Minnesota, on the Iron Range. And my mom's grandfather started a cattle trading business that my cousin is now the 4th generation owner-operator. It's a 90-year-old business. It's gotten into the feed store right now over here. Grew up in Minnesota, went to school up out in the Front Range, and ended up going out to New York City on a bit of a whim with a buddy of mine who was chasing a gal. And as I did in high school and college, I waited tables. And I ended up falling into, kind of stumbling into being involved in the financial markets, a lot of work on interest rates and currencies, and traveled the world, 40 or 50 countries, and did business and a bunch more. Sadly, left after 9/11 funerals. I went to a lot of them, and I kind of decided to reset out here in Colorado, met the proverbial girl, and we've been living on the western slope up in Pickens County in Aspen for the past 20 years. My wife was on the school board for a while, and I did some city council work I spend about 90% of my time working on affordable housing, which obviously until 4 or 5 years ago was more of a resort community conversation. And now Montrose, Dinosaur, Cortez, Mancus, Otero, everyone's going through the conversation about not enough supply because the demand continues to increase a lot. During COVID, I went and got my substitute teaching license. I'm a really big believer that kids need to be in the classroom at all costs. And I did pre-K4, which is great because they're old enough to go to the bathroom, but they still want to hold your hand, which my 2 teenagers do not want to do anymore, and that's okay. Speaking of my son Felix, I've driven 70,000 miles in the past 2.5 years. To give everyone a reminder of our district, it's bigger than the state of Pennsylvania. And we have 27 counties. Some of them are 90% Republican and some of them are 90% Democrat. And I just keep on showing up over and over and over again. I've been on the road about 25 days for the past 2 years. Luckily, my son Felix, who just graduated from high school and is deferring college for a year, we've done a 50,000-mile father-son road trip. And nothing is better than doing our father-son road trip through the prettiest district in the country at the prettiest time of year in the country. So if you haven't left, as beautiful as Montrose County is, make sure you get out there because while the leaves are winding down, it's pretty incredible up there. There were some comments made in the summer, in the fall of 2021 by a sitting congressperson. Don't ask me what they were, but they were just say on brand. And it got me thinking about trying to get into this conversation. I never had a plan to really run for Congress. Fully aware that living up in a mountain town and driving around to a lot of different places, there was going to be some skepticism. But we worked hard in the face of a 40,000 vote assumed deficit. We ended up having the closest race in the country. It's because I just keep on showing up is number one, and I think that's something that's really, really important. This is the only district that does not touch any part of the Denver metro area. So we truly are, I don't want to say completely on our own, but we certainly feel the common element I hear from people regardless of political viewpoint is there's this great city of Denver, and then there's everybody else. And I think it's really important to find someone who's going to advocate very, very hard for rural Colorado, the western slope in southern Colorado. And being a father and a husband, and a small business owner, and an American in the Colorado, I just don't have any room left over for partisanship. I think that both parties, I would say that neither party has a monopoly on good ideas, and both parties have some very, very bad ideas. And if there was a Get Stuff Done party, I would be running in the Get Stuff Done party. And I've talked about that for a really, really long time. And so I'm going there to me, this is not about being on Team Republican or Team Democrat, it's being on Team CD3. And I continue to focus on this over and over and over again. As it gets to the issues per se that we're all talking about, obviously the protection of water, ag, ranching, farming, biodiversity, economics, it's really important to make sure that the western slope water stays in the western slope. We do not want to solve Colorado's water shortages in the back of CD3. We also do not want to solve the 7-state Colorado River Compact in the back of Colorado. Some of you probably know, but Colorado is the only state in the lower 48 that only has water going out. We're the only state in the lower 48 that's not having the water coming in. And so it's really important to make sure that water stays here. 2, cost of living is obviously something that's been hammering people for a really long time. I hear about it all the time. The cost of health care, the cost of child care, the conversation about housing, it's really, really struggling out there. And I think it's really important to figure out how we continue to produce. There's this view from Denver and DC that because we don't live in big cities, things are just cheaper. And it's quite the opposite. We have fewer options for groceries, we have fewer options for health care, we have fewer options for child care. And we need to figure out how to continue to produce more housing for people to live there. It's been great to figure out how to, there's a consumer conversation and a producer conversation, and this Denver metro area is definitely focused on the consumer side of things. I'm a big believer that our 27 counties come more from the producer side of things, which is ag, ranching, farming, manufacturing, whether it's TI drills here in Montrose, or the lumber mill, which we've got a tour of. Sadly, this is the lumber mill here. It's the only lumber mill within 5 states. And if we're really trying to want to do a better job of managing our forests better, and a healthy forest is a healthy watershed, we need to figure out how to make sure that there's more people producing things like lumber, and it will help in the housing crisis as well. Obviously, manufacturing remains really, really big as well. So these are the issues that I think to the top of mind, which is the cost of living, the water conversation, and making sure that we remain energy independent. I'm a big believer. I don't see why we need to stop exporting our gift and start exporting energy. I made that very, very clear for a very, very long time, but how important it is. We're not getting solar power from Sweden or wind from Denmark when we're shutting down our conversations here. It's great in Pueblo. There's a 150-year-old steel mill. It's 80% solar powered. It's a really great story of old line manufacturing with some of the newer energy sources out there. But we are still going to have natural gas and oil with us for a little time. And I'd rather have it produced here in the United States, in Colorado, than asking Iran, Venezuela, China to do that production. And so I think this really remains focused on having an independent voice and not be beholden to anybody, making sure again that the water stays here, that we can continue to be a producer of everything that's important to keep Montrose County and the CD3 strong and helpful. Thank you all very much for being here. I hope to speak to some of you afterwards, and thank you very much for the forum.
Everybody, tell me, Steve, do I need to stay right here or can I move? All right. Set my time in here. All right. Jeff Hurd, it's great to be here. This feels like being at home, frankly. I grew up just up the road here, Highway 50 up in Grand Junction, and I've been to Montrose countless times. Both as a kid growing up, playing football. I went to Grand Junction High School, so we played football against Montrose. If we beat you guys, it certainly wasn't because of me, because I was terrible at football. But being here is sort of like what it's like when you go to a neighbor's house growing up. You feel like you're at home and you feel comfortable. It's terrific to be here in Montrose County with you all, and thank you so much for hosting me. I also got to spend a lot of time here in Montrose County professionally. I am a rural electric cooperative attorney, and Delta Montrose Electric Association is one of the clients I've worked with for a number of years and have worked hard to represent you as member owners of Delta Montrose Electric and also to help get Elevate off the ground as their attorney. And I hope that you appreciate, and if you want to know what kind of problem solver, what kind of attorney, what kind of person I am, I see some familiar faces out here, talk to some of the folks that worked at DMEA, that worked on the DMEA board, that worked with Elevate, and they'll tell you what kind of a problem solver and hard worker I am. And that's the kind of person you would get going to Congress. That also includes your power rates. It's been more than 5 years since Delta Montrose has raised its residential power rates, I believe. And my understanding is there's no expectation that those rates are going to increase in the coming year. I don't know what else in your life has not increased in cost in the last 5 years, but that is a terrific testament to the great work that this organization, rural electric cooperatives, can do in making lives better for rural citizens. So I am running because I'm running for United States Congress, 3rd Congressional District, because there are 2 Colorados. One Colorado is in the North Metro area, and there they import jobs and opportunity and money. And the other Colorado, we export our kids. And we are being left behind in rural Colorado. And I'm running fundamentally to create economic opportunities so that our children can, if they want, stay and live and thrive in this other Colorado, in rural Colorado. This is personal for me. I grew up here. I'm raising my 5 children here with my wife. And I see every day how it feels like we're being left behind. And we need to fight to make sure that we have opportunities so that families can stay and thrive in this other Colorado, in this part of the state. A little bit about me. This is my first time running for anything. If you're looking for somebody that's been angling to be in Congress, I'm not your guy. I haven't even run for dog catcher before. I'm a little bit surprised, I'll tell you, to be running. It's kind of a surreal experience, but I believe in this. It's not necessarily a rationally smart thing to do to run for Congress and you have a young family and a successful law practice, but I believe it in my heart. And that's why I'm running. I've got skin in the game. I've got 5 young children that I'm trying to raise here, and I grew up here. This is where I'm from, and I'm from Western Colorado, and I'm for this district. And so that is my personal why. I'm authentic. Those of you who have known me, I see a number of friendly faces here, know that I don't put on airs. I am the same person at home as in the church, as in at work, as I am as your attorney representing. And that authenticity and that sincerity is something that I think is good to have in somebody that represents you. I'm a small business owner. I represented, I have had a small law firm representing mostly rural electric cooperatives like DMEA, and representing others, school districts, Elevate Fiber, other folks that, other entities that are doing good things for rural Colorado. And through that work, I've come to see the challenges that rural Colorado faces, but also the opportunities. And it would be an honor to serve you in Congress and do everything we can to make life better for families and for communities here in western Colorado and also in southern Colorado. I'm a Colorado native. Like I said, I grew up in Grand Junction, went to Grand Junction High School. I understood the importance of public service from my father, who ran the Marillac Clinic in Grand Junction, serving underinsured and uninsured adults. I've been chairman of the board of the Grand Junction Area Chamber of Commerce. So as a small business owner, I got to also see the importance of what good government regulations can do to create opportunities for small business, which are really the backbone of western and southern Colorado. I also guest lectured at CMU, which is great, and I learned over the years that the students say the same. I'm getting older, and all of my cultural references and jokes every year, fewer and fewer of them land with the kids as they, and so I need to. This is an older crowd, so if my jokes and cultural references, I'm hoping that they'll be a little more received than by the students. But I teach right-of-way, easement law, and real property issues as part of a course at Colorado Mesa University. So that service to the community is also something that's really important to me. And I'm also on the board of the Legal Aid Foundation of Colorado, providing legal services to low-income Coloradans throughout the 3rd Congressional District. I have a deep knowledge of policy, mostly from my work representing rural communities, representing rural electric cooperatives. That is something that you get from me. I don't pretend to be an expert in anything. You guys are the expert. You guys will be my bosses. But I have, over the course of my career, gained an expertise and knowledge in rural issues that I really think I could bring to bear in representing you in Congress. One thing that Adam and I have in common also is I ended up in New York City as well, which was sort of surreal for me as a small-town kid from western Colorado, ending up in Manhattan. But I will tell you one thing I learned there is you can be a small-town kid from western Colorado, but if you stay humble and you work hard, you can succeed anywhere. And that's an attitude that I brought back home with me when my wife and I moved back home, and that we're teaching our children as well. Really quickly, top issues for me: securing the border, energy independence, and protecting water and ag. Notwithstanding the millions of dollars being dropped on my head by my opponent, I am sincerely committed to keeping water here in the 3rd Congressional District, and will fight to do that. Ag is the backbone of our economy, and that is something that I will work hard to do every day, is make sure that we keep the water that our farmers and ranchers need to grow our food. It would be a sincere honor to represent you in Congress. Local guy from Colorado for Colorado, Jeff Hurd. I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How's this? So actually it's C-U-R-R-Y, but you get the general idea. I'm Kathleen Curry, and I'm running for the Colorado State House for District 58. And for folks that aren't that familiar with the boundaries of the district, I just thought I would run through the counties. I know you guys couldn't do that. But we have a portion of 2 counties, Delta and Montezuma, so we don't have the full counties there. But the other counties in the district include Gunnison and Hinsdale on the other side of the bridge, which is where I live, and Montrose, San Miguel, Ouray, and Dolores. So it's an amazing district, really diverse in a lot of ways, politically, geographically, economically. So I come from Gunnison. I'm actually a Colorado native, and so many of the remarks I just heard from both of the congressional candidates resonated. I'm born in Denver, but was raised all over the country, and my dad was a Texaco executive, so, well, he didn't start out as an executive, he started out in a refinery, but we moved all over the country, so I grew up kind of in the oil and gas sector. I decided last summer to throw my hat in the ring and run for this seat for a couple of reasons. The main one being that I want to make sure that this part of the state, has an effective voice at the Colorado State Capitol on our behalf. But I also have a love for the legislative process and have worked for years at the Capitol in different capacities, and thought, I worked at the Capitol as a representative for West Slope water providers and for sportsmen and women. And I've been able to see directly how outnumbered we are at the Capitol. And I thought, you know, I know how to do this job. I know how to do it well. I cannot sit this out. There's too much at stake. So when the light bulb went on, it was when I realized that our representative, Catlin, was term limited. And then I realized, okay, gosh, I could give this a try. So a little bit about me. I have about 25 years of experience working in the water business, primarily on the supply side, and that's really helpful for a district like this because that's a major issue for us. I come from an ag family. In Gunnison, we have a cow-calf operation on the east side of the county. And probably most relevant, though, for this discussion is the fact that I have served in the State House before. I served for 3 terms from 2005 to 2010, and I was really honored because I was appointed chair of the House Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, and I was appointed chair even as a freshman, and I have to say I don't think I did a very good job as a freshman, but I eventually figured it out. And when you serve in that capacity, as Representative Catlin knows, that you can really help guide the direction of legislation that runs through that particular committee. And a lot of the issues that we care about here do run through ag and natural resources in both chambers. So my hope and my dream is that if the voters send me back to the Capitol as their representative, my hope is that I would be appointed to a leadership position on that committee again. And there's just no guarantee of that, but if I can earn that, that would be my dream, is to be able to carry your voice forward and influence the outcome of legislation, especially out of that Ag and Natural Resources Committee. And obviously there are a lot of other issues too that are really critical. As I've traveled the district, I think that, and they were mentioned earlier, and we didn't collaborate, but I think that too, there's a common thread, even though this is a diverse district and a big district. Everywhere I go, people talk about the high cost of living in this part of the state, and also there are concerns about water resources. So those, and again, there are other issues depending on who you talk to, but those two seem to be coming up nearly everywhere. And so given that that's the situation, I would make those 2 issues a priority if I'm elected. On the water side, I specifically would, I really want to tackle the issue of funding for water infrastructure. And originally I thought that the main issue would be ag infrastructure, coming from that sector and having a passion for that. But I'm learning that there are a lot of water challenges facing folks in this district. Almost every community has a compliance issue, either on the water treatment, drinking water treatment side or the wastewater side. So I think, and I know we have a limited budget, but we've got to find a way to provide more funding opportunities for water infrastructure improvements. So that would be one priority. Another priority would be this cost of living issue. And I know there are a lot of elements involved there, a lot of factors, I should say, but one that we could try to do more on is this issue of affordable housing, or the lack thereof. And there is a state role, I think, and I just wanted to share my philosophy on that. I don't have a specific idea for legislation right at the moment, but I can tell you what I would support, and that would be incentivizing the construction of additional housing that would be more affordable for the citizens in the state, and then also trying to not get in the way of that. Sometimes what the General Assembly does actually creates a disincentive, and so I want to try to keep both of those philosophies in mind. How can we help local communities address this challenge, but how can we also not stand in their way and make it more difficult? So I'm not sure where I'm at time-wise. 30 seconds, oh good grief, okay. But I was gonna mention an endorsement that I got recently because it really ties into what Mr. Hurd was talking about. The Colorado Advocates for Rural electrification endorsed the campaign. And I'm so excited about that because there are 5 co-ops in this district. And then Colorado Outfitters Association also just endorsed the campaign. Also a great honor because I really want to go to bat for sportsmen and women. And with that, I'll wrap up. I want to thank the organizers of the event and tell you how much I appreciate you coming out, and hope I can earn your vote this fall and go back on your behalf. Thank you.
Well, I'm learning on Suckla, and I know where every classroom is now on this campus because I've been in every building except for this one. But I found it. I tell you about me is I believe that as far as a candidate, I've got more mud and dirt from public lands and from private property on my boots than probably any candidate in the room. I grew up on a ranch. I have a hay farm, and I see an assault. What I'm seeing is an assault on our ag. They are not very ag friendly up there at the State House. They're used to their concrete jungle, and they don't understand what it's like living over here on the western slope. It's like, and I shouldn't say this. I said it the last thing last night. I'm going to say it again. We're the brother from another mother on the other side here, and it is time that we let them know that this brother, we're part of the family over here on the western slope, and they need to know that. And the way that they're going to know that is we got to go up there and we got to have our voice heard. And so the deal is you got 19 Republicans, you got 46 Democrats. They're way outnumbered, and if you really like the way the state's been going for the last 3.5 years, then vote Democrat, because then you like it. But I don't like it. And that's why I'm a Republican, and that is why I'm running. I'm running for my kids. I don't want to go up there and live in that concrete jungle. I'd rather go back to my ranch where I can go out there and see wildlife and everything. I don't know how much more wildlife there's going to be if once they get the wolf over here and they eat all the deer and the elk. Maybe that's their plan. They want to get rid of all of our wildlife. I don't know what their plan is, to be honest with you. But I'm running because I am sick and tired of the way that we are treated from the eastern slope. We are part of this beautiful state, and our voices need to be heard. And so I want you to send me up there. I want to be a loud voice, and I am just sick and tired of the way that the Democrats, they're the reason that our cost of living is out of control. And let me tell you this about affordable housing. There is no such thing as affordable housing today. Just do the math. It's a set cost on what it costs to build a house. A 2x4 costs the same in Montrose as it does in Denver, as it does in Montezuma County. So you can't fix that. That's what the costs are. So why do we not have affordable housing? It's simple. It's called infrastructure. The amount of money that it takes to run electricity and water and sewer lines. And where is the best place to put affordable housing? Which there is no such thing today until the market goes back down. Right next to your cities, your municipalities, because that's where the infrastructure is. And Telluride right now, they're having a problem, they said, with affordable housing. They did it to themselves. Do you guys know what the valley floor looks like in Telluride as you drive into Telluride? That was land that they used eminent domain that they took from the farmer, and then they made it open space so that we can ride our bikes and we can hike and we can go from the roundabout to Telluride. And now all of a sudden they're like, hey, we don't have no place to put affordable housing. Yeah, you don't have no place because you made that all open space. That is why you don't have it. You did it to yourselves. So do I want to use my taxpayer money? It's called subsidized housing. That is the word that it is, subsidized housing. Do I want to take these farmers' hard-earned money and the citizens in Montrose County and use their money to make it so somebody can live in Telluride where we all want to live? It's beautiful, is it not? No, I don't want my hard-earned tax money to go to that. They need to figure it out themselves. They are an elite class. Use your elite money and build your affordable housing, and then leave us farmers and us ranchers alone so that we can live our lives the way that we've been living. We're doing a pretty good job. They want to know why it's so beautiful here? It's because of all of us in the room is why it's so beautiful here. We care where we live, and we take care of where we live, and we don't need those bureaucrats on the other side of the hill telling us how to manage our land. I am Larry on Suckla. If you're sick and tired of what's been going on for the last 3.5 years, vote for me. Thank you.
So I appreciate all of you who put this organization on. It's always a great opportunity to be able to talk to people about the issues. First, I'd like to take time to introduce myself. My name is Buerger. I'm a 5th generation Coloradan. I grew up on my family's ranch just south of Suckla, Colorado, where we raised cattle and quarter horses. My very first memory is of irrigating with my mom on a very unstable 3-wheeler in our alfalfa fields. I was a 4-H kid where I showed steers, sheep, and pigs at the county fair. Like many kids that Mr. Hurd referenced, I left our neck of the woods for college. I went to George Washington University, where I have a degree in international affairs and a minor in Chinese that does me very little good on the western slope. I went to work for the International Republican Institute when it was chaired by the late Senator John McCain. I worked in Asia, working with Burmese freedom fighters, North Korean defectors, to fight against authoritarianism in those countries. I later went to get my master's degree in public policy. Like everybody who has ever been in DC, you have to have a master's degree, make over 30 grand. And I got that in policy and policy analysis. Now I'm a small business owner. For the past over a decade, I've run my own small consulting firm focusing on policy design and communication. I've worked on issues like voting rights and educational funding, financial literacy. Now, my partner Mitchell and I, we just opened another small business on the banks of the Colorado River. It's a small kind of food truck, pop-up, beer garden situation. It's where I learned this summer that the death by 1,000 cuts of red tape can be a real thing. We learned that ice is considered a food in the state of Colorado, and you can't serve it unless it's a permanent structure that's been licensed. So no wonder people drink and want to burn things down. Currently, I serve on the board of the Middle Colorado Watershed Council. I serve on the Colorado River Valley Economic Development Partnership Board, and I was appointed to the board of the Garfield County Planning and Zoning Commission by our commissioners in that county, my county. I volunteer as an English language tutor at Literacy Outreach, and I'm here today because I believe that the people of SD5 need new independent leadership in our legislature. Having grown up here, I know how lucky we are to call this place home, but I also know firsthand a lot of the challenges that we face. You know, growing up here, I knew exactly what it's like to have your entire family's livelihood depend on water. I've seen struggles firsthand of my family trying to keep the family ranch in our hands and a roof over our head. I know loved ones and friends who've struggled with drugs or mental health issues. I know what it's like when a road goes down in Denver. We know that it takes a long time to get around, or it takes a short time to get around, but for us, when it goes down, it shuts off communities. And so, I think we've spent the campaign, so far, talking to people all across this district to hear from them what their challenges are, just like ours. From a young man in Gunnison who is considering leaving our state because he can't afford housing, but he wants to be here. We've heard from Greg and Heather in Glenwood Springs, also small business owners, really struggling to keep and grow their economy or grow their business because they can't find help. And so those are the things that I want to talk to you about today, right? What are our ideas, rather than just identifying problems? What are our ideas to get things done in Denver? So on the economy, I think that we have to address this affordability crisis we face in Colorado, whether that's housing or healthcare or childcare. There's no one silver bullet, but I have a few ideas. I think like Kathleen Curry, I want to get out of the way of people when it comes to building housing. We have construction defects rules in the state of Colorado that make it much more incentivize builders to build a $5 million home in Aspen rather than working like homes for working families here in Montrose or Rifle. We have a lot of nitpicks and things at the local level where I think that we could help work with jurisdictions so that we can streamline the ability of builders to actually construct things. I think on the healthcare front, we've got, many of us, most of us in SD5 and the West Slope are employed by small businesses. I'd like to work with small businesses to create insurance risk pools so that small businesses can continue to offer benefits and keep their employees covered. We've got to expand access to primary care through clinics as well. We also need our share of funding, whether it's in the infrastructure dollars. There are not a lot of us over here on this side of the mountain, but there's a lot of miles of road, making sure that that calculus reflects the usage from our visitors as well as ourselves. And I think, we've got to make sure that we are addressing and protecting our water. We know that water is our number one issue over here, but we work together, Republicans and Democrats, to make sure that we keep and protect every drop here. So I really appreciate taking the time today. I'm not going to use up all my time. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm really focused on making sure that we have effective leadership in Denver where we can play offense. I would like to sit on the Infrastructure and Transportation Committee. I'd like to sit on the Finance Committee, and hopefully if I can extract my pound of flesh, I'd like to also sit on the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee as well to make sure that we are reducing that red tape on small businesses. So thank you for having me today, and I look forward to visiting with you guys after.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming today. I'm proud of you. You take the time out of your day to come and find out about who the people are that are running for the offices that you're going to vote for. That shows your engagement. That shows you matter. That shows that you are thinking about what we're saying up here. What we're saying up here is something that we have to be very careful about what we promise, how we promise it, and what we think we're going to be able to do. I've been your state rep for 8 years. I think you know who I am. But for some of you that are not from here or that you haven't met me, I was born and raised in Montrose. I live on a farm out west of Montrose, still farming. My family's been farmers for, I guess we can't figure out how long we haven't been farmers. So it's kind of in my blood. So what that does is it gives me a deep love for the land, for the water, and the community that we live in. This is a very special place. Those of you that are living right here, right now, no matter how long you've been here, or it doesn't matter if you just got here or been here for 5 generations, this is a very special place. You and I know that. So one of the reasons for running is because it is that special place. We were there for 8 years, and there are things that still could be done. One of the things that we did do was to run bills that were specifically about the 58th district. Rather than look at bills that were statewide high profile, saying, hey, look at me, we ran bills that had something to do with the 58th district, specifically the 58th. One of the things we found is that if we take a bill to the House from out here, and it works, they find out it works statewide. The ones that come from Denver to us are the ones that we end up having to struggle with. We end up having to carve our square peg to fit their round hole, and that's where the problems end up. Is they don't understand what we do. They don't know what we do or how or why. And the big thing is, they don't even care. Whoever you send has to be somebody that can step up and say, this will not work on the western slope of Colorado. One of the things you need to understand, there are only 7 rural legislators in the Senate today. 7. out of 35. We need to send someone that has the ability to say, this is a rural issue, this is how we can deal with it, and this is what I suggest. We've talked about affordable housing. I think it's more about attainable housing. How can we help, and can we help, people be able to buy a house? When I was in the real estate business early on, first job I had out the farm, there were houses that were being built at that time that were 2 and 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 car garage, and they were the house that you and I would buy as a starter. And in that same subdivision, there were houses down the street that had 3 and 4 bedrooms, 2 car garage, 2 baths, big yard, all of the things that you would grow into. We don't do that anymore, have you noticed? We subdivide pieces of ground and we start building houses 3,000 to 5,000 square feet. We're not talking about 1,200 square foot house. First house I bought was 1,200 feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. I think we as communities should be able to come to a table, wherever you want to have it, and all of us come and say, this is what we need, this is what we want. Regardless if you're trying to employee housing for the hospital, for the police force, or for the fire department, and say, we need this many units. Then we decide, okay, where could we put it? Maybe the school district's got some ground. They put up the ground, everybody else chips in and figures out, what do we have in the stack of assets? X number of dollars. Then we bring the builders, local builders, to that table, say, what can you do with this? They tell the community, this is what we can do. If that fits, let's do it. If it doesn't quite fit, then go to the state and say, we need to do some sort of financing from the state to help us get this done. It's not going to fix everybody's problem. One of the things that happens is people are starting to think that everyone's problems are going to get solved. That doesn't happen. We'll take chunks of it at a time. When I first went over to Denver, I thought, I'll go make some big changes. We'll be all right. When you find out you can't make big changes, you do them in incremental pieces. It may take you 4 or 5 years to get to where you wanted to be. But that's how you go about doing this. One of the things I want you to know is that you cannot do this on your own. In my case, I had to have people from the other party be on the bills with me so that we could pass them. 80% of the bills that I ran, we passed. These are the kind of things that you have to have in mind when you go there. It's a frame of mind. It's a people business to start with. Everything is pretty much a people business if you realize that. But you have to be able to say, I'm running this bill, I got a bill that I would like to run. It's good for my district. Would you take a look at it? I've done that nearly every bill. They take a look at it. By the time we gavel in the next morning, they say to me, could I put my name on that bill with you? Because it's good for their districts too. That's the way legislation grows. And the Senate and the House, they're not a whole lot different other than the fact that the Senate may have a broader horizon of things that they may do. So taking someone that has the experience to go into the Senate and say, I can do this, and be able to do it, is a real advantage. No time to learn, you just have to start. So some of the things that I'm concerned about, and I think you are too, first is water. Without water, where are we? Have you noticed there's no open space committee in the ground between Delta and Grand Junction? That's where we'll be. That's what we looked like before the tunnel was built, before this irrigation system was put in. My background with on the irrigation system, I ran the water users in management for 15 years. Water in the ditch makes sense to me. Water in the river also makes sense to me. Communities need to thrive. We have all kinds of industry and businesses in this district. A lot of them generate straight from water. We need to be able to take care of that, and we'll be taking care of our communities and the vitality of the western slope. Folks, I love the Western Slope. I want to do everything I can to get it to move forward and to continue to be the best place in the United States to live. Thank you very much.
Hi there, I'm Ellen Angeles, and I probably know close to half of you in this room from seeing you around Montrose. I've been here 20 years, and I just want to think about the four ladies who introduced themselves to you today and tell you how active they've been in our community to make this a great place to live. And the Western Slope really is a wonderful place for us to live. So sometimes it's good to not be in that concrete jungle and sitting in that traffic and having that life. So some of you I know because I know that I've taught with you or I've taught your kids or grandkids. Would you please raise your hand if you are a teacher from Montrose or a sub from Montrose? Or if you have volunteered in a classroom in Montrose? Or if you have a parent here in Montrose? Or if you have subbed, volunteered, done anything in the community to help these schools? We are so dang lucky. About 14 years ago, or no, I guess it was 12, I gotta count everything based on how old my kid is. My kid's 13. I told my principal, I said, my kids are so dang poor here at Northside. I said, I'm gonna go through my closets and clean everything out and have a Christmas store in my classroom. And the kids are gonna get to pick 2 gifts, to give to people in their community. Their parents, their neighbor, something that's important to them. And my principal at my review said, that's a great idea, you're doing it for the whole school. And I went, crap. And it still exists every year. And Barbara Bynum and Phoebe went through their closets, and about 5 other women, and they have done that every single year. It costs no money to us, and it is the most beautiful thing to see a kid wrap a gift and say, this is for my neighbor, or this is for my Mima. And so we have so many advantages to being on the Western Slope. So I just want to point that out with some things being said. This is a great place to live. So I want to tell you, I have a website, Ellen for Colorado. I want you to know who I am, what I believe, and the things that are important to me. I've been a teacher for about 20 years, but before that, I did not teach because my dad was a principal and my mom was a teacher. So, I knew I wouldn't make any money, so I went into business, I went into banking, and then I met a boy. And that changed everything. And I came out here to teach for the summer in Leadville at Colorado Mesa College, and boy, it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. I have 3 jobs in my life. I know we've all worn many hats, and I thank the parents that have raised teachers, and I thank the people that have done that, but my father always told me everything is most important at home. And I will always be a good daughter, a good wife, and a good mother. And that's what I know you guys do too. I know at times it's not easy. So to tell you a little bit about the State Board of Education, it's not an easy job either, guys. You have to represent every single family, Republican, Democrat, unaffiliated. We represent public schools, charter schools, Christian schools, homeschooling. Those are all important, and I think parents should make the choice that's best for them and for their families. So today you're here, thanks to the forum, to make sure that the candidate that you pick aligns with your values and what you want for your children. Because I know you really do want what's best for your children. We all do. Tell you a little bit about my background. I graduated from Kent State, and I have a background in criminal justice and mediation. I really think those helped me a lot because the mediation taught me compromise. I'm lucky enough to have my best friend from college here. I called her a few months ago, told her I was gonna do this. She said, are you crazy? I said a little bit. So it's nice that she came out here to spend a week of her life with me going around and talking to people. I was lucky enough to then get my teaching degree from Western Colorado University in Gunnison and teach with my friend Alice out in Olathe. It was a wonderful, great opportunity. And then I was lucky enough to get my master's from Colorado Mesa University through a scholarship. And boy, did I feel blessed for someone to say to me, it's only going to cost you about $2,000 worth of stuff to get your master's. That was such a blessing to me because I knew I wasn't going to get rich being a teacher. So my big rocks and my priorities, first off, I want you to know every single thing that I do will come down to 2 things. One, is it good for public education? Period. We've all sat under the shade of a tree that someone else planted. I want to do that for every single child. And 2, is it good for children? Every time we look at our schools, we want to do what's best for all kids. So how am I going to do that? Well, we need to fully fund our schools, period. We've made some inroads the past couple of years, but we need to do that. We also need to have highly qualified teachers and well-compensated teachers. Teachers are the ones, like, I look out at you guys, you're all fifth graders to me right now. And boy, some of you have really exceeded my expectations, although I do set high expectations. So I want those highly qualified teachers. I also want the community engagement, fiscal responsibility, and I want us to help each other. This community has been amazing. I can't tell you how many people have come in to volunteer at the high school, middle school, grade school. We want you there. That's the parental involvement, that's the community involvement, because who knows best about your community? You. And CD3 that I'm serving is a huge community. I'm going all the way down to Pueblo, I'm going down to Cortez, I'm in Aspen, I'm in Glenwood Springs, I'm over in Moffett County and Grand Junction, and I see amazing things in all those places. So thank you for all you do and the contributions you make. So on that note, I want you to know, I think it's important to talk to the people and see what they want and to make sure you're on spot. You know, I told you, I was in banking and I was in sales, and so sometimes we have to make compromises, sometimes we have to see some people's other perspective, and I think it's great to make mistakes. That's how we learn. We become better people by that. So as I've talked to people, I've spent a lot of time in our community volunteering. I helped with the rec center, and people gave me grief about that when we had that rec center. Oh no, Ellen, don't do that. You know, it's wasting taxpayer dollars. No, it's not. It benefits the young, the old, everybody in between. Said we couldn't do it, we did it. We got the rec center. Then we got the middle school, and our library's open 7 days a week. Why wouldn't we want that? It benefits all of us. So I'm really proud that I was able to help with those things, but also with a lot of people in my community. Some of the endorsements that I've gotten, and I'm very proud of, because they're people that know that I'm a good person to work with and I care about getting things done. I don't care who gets the credit, I just care that things get done. So the Attorney General's endorsed me, Senator Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, the Colorado Education Association, the American Teacher Federation, the Treasurer, Dave Young. We've had tough conversations, as I was telling Rosemary Murphy, who we need to think about these things, and the union workers in Pueblo. So I've had the tough conversations. One of the things that really made me feel good was last week getting an email from the mayor of Grand Junction. He endorsed me. He said, "We don't need more extremism and cultural wars in CD3. We've seen how that turns out here in Mesa County. And our classrooms are the last place we want to see that kind of performance political agenda. What we really need now are common sense people who are willing to dig in and do the hard, important work for our great state and public education." That is why I support Ellen Angeles. I felt touched by that, guys, because he knows that that's someone that I want to do. Thank you very much. My name is Ellen Angeles. I hope you will vote for me. I hope you'll vote for our school district, and I hope you'll vote against 80. Thank you. Thank you. And come to the coffee trader on Main Street if you want to talk to us one-on-one.
Good morning, I'm Sherri Wright, and I'm running for CD3 State Board of Education. And like Ellen, I believe in education, and I believe that we need to make sure that our kids are well educated. To give you a little background, I am a native Coloradoan. In fact, if you look at my background, you will find that my family has a Spanish land grant in San Luis Valley. So that tells you how far back I go. I have lived in Colorado, and my family has lived in Colorado. I have a bachelor's degree in secondary language arts. I taught middle school for 20 years. Ooh, 7th grade. I love it. Did you realize that every day is a new day? Because they change. I love that. I also have a master's degree in secondary education. So I am well-rounded in that. I have been, after I retired from teaching, I was challenged to run for the school board, and I did, and I won. Not sure that my husband knew that it was not a good idea, but I ended up working on the school board for 8 years. My husband became ill, so I did not rerun, And then after he passed away, I did charter school for 2 years. Then they asked me to come back. So I went back to the school board, and in this time frame, I have been on the CASB board for 12 years. Do you realize that CASB is mostly metro? I was a lone voice many, many times out there saying, rural Colorado, we need to support rural Colorado. And they're going, education's education, it doesn't matter. It does matter. I was also the board for a community college. When I went on, I was voted in as president of that board in 2 years. And I changed it from a vocational technical school to a vocational technical college. We ran out of money because the 3 school districts were supporting it. So I went to the Colorado Community College, worked with them, and negotiated a merge with PCC, Pueblo Community College. So we now have a strong community college in Cortez, Durango, so in the Four Corners. So it's good. I have 2 children that went through public education. I have 2 granddaughters that went through public education. I have 2 great-grandsons. They are adorable. I'll show pictures. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old grandkids that are coming up to be educated. I am fighting for education. I want them to have the same education benefits that I did, that my children did, and my 2 granddaughters. And I will tell you, my oldest granddaughter went to college. She graduated from high school in 3 years on the honor roll. She graduated from college in 3 years with the dual majors, equine science and business ag. And she graduated in 3 years with honors. So I'm very proud of our educational system. So I am fighting for it. I believe in school choice. I believe that a parent and a student has a right to know where they are going to learn best. I believe in parental rights. I believe that parents have a right to know what's being taught in the classroom. I also believe in education. And believe me, I think that I agree with Ellen. We need to get our facts back in our, we do not need to indoctrinate. We do not need to give other information. We need to keep politics out of education. Our kids need to learn to think, and they need to learn what to do. So, I am fighting very deeply for that. I heard the other night that the state of Colorado is going to have a shortfall this year, and guess what? The last time they had their big shortfall, they took it out of education. We're finally caught up on the budget stabilization, and let's just pray that they do not take money out of the education system again, because it hurts. I am going to be fighting for more money for rural schools, simply because they don't have the money. Our teachers are not well paid. In this part of the state, they're not paid well. They're not making their $70,000 first-year teachers. They're making $30,000, $40,000. That's not right. We need to keep going. We need to fund our schools. We need to fund our teachers so we can have good teachers. And we need to make sure that we are going there. So, I just want you to know that I am very passionate about education. I have lived my life in education. I have been a charter school director. I know what charter schools can do. When I went in, we were on needs improvement at turnaround, and I was able to raise it in 1 year and make it just to a needs improvement. Simply by following state standards, making sure that teachers did lesson plans and matching them to state standards. So I want you to know that I'm Sherri Wright. I'm running for CD3 State Board of Education, and my motto is vote right. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. What a nice crowd. See a lot of familiar faces. My name is Scott Mijares, and I am running for Montrose County Commissioner in District 1. I am a conservative Republican. I put the word conservative ahead of Republican because I believe in conservative principles of individual liberty, limited government, fiscal responsibility, and human dignity. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, and I bring my experience as a business owner and an investment banker to the Board of Commissioners. Since July 11th, it was clear that I was running unopposed for District 1, so I will be one of your new county commissioners. I plan on taking this position very, very seriously, and I promise you to protect the health and the safety and the welfare of every citizen of Montrose County within the limits of the laws passed in our county, and also, of course, the state and U.S. Constitution. And while I won't take office until January of 2025, I have already started working for you, engaged in our county commissioner meetings, and I attend as many meetings as I can to familiarize myself with how our county operates and what makes it work. And I can tell you, at this point, what I've learned, I'm a little bit disappointed. However, I see great potential for improvements on how we can improve how our county resources go to work on behalf of our citizens. So what kind of county commissioner am I going to be to you? Well, number one, I believe we need to bring the people closer to our local government, not shut them out. And number two, I want more citizen involvement, not less. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need more transparency in our government. We need people to know what's going on in our county commissioner and why it's happening. We need more citizen involvement. We need input from our community stakeholders and all of our citizens. 3 minutes at a county commissioner meeting is simply just not enough in almost all cases. And it's important that our commissioners hear what you have to say and the input that you present to them. Our BOCC meetings right now are running about 30 to 40 minutes every 2 weeks. To me, that's just simply not enough. If I have anything to say about it, those meetings will go as long as they have to until we get the work done on behalf of the citizens of Montrose. This is your government. You pay your leaders very well, and you should expect to get good performance out of them. So what are my priorities? Well, I just spoke about transparency and community involvement, but first and foremost is our Sheriff's Department. Our Sheriff's Department is underfunded and understaffed, and this presents a risk to all of us. Currently, according to Sheriff Lillard, spoke to him yesterday, he has 47 certified deputies in his department. Out of that, there's 10 that work in the jailhouse, 6 are in command staff, and 4 are investigators. That leaves 27 deputies that are policing 2,200 square miles with over 22,000 residents. Now, to put that in contrast, the city has what, 30 officers for the city of Montrose approximately? 30?
Right now we're about 45 with command staff.
45 with command staff for 18 square miles of land with 21,000, or give or take, citizens. So you see the contrast there and where the problem is. So why is that? Well, if you talk to the current BOCC, they'll tell you we simply can't afford it. Well, then I'll ask you, how can we afford $15 million to renovate a courthouse? Or propose $30 million to build a north campus for our our county employees to work in? Are we sacrificing our public safety in return for lavish new offices for the people we elected and the people who are serving us to work in? I don't think that's a good trade-off. All right, so my second priority is greater efficiencies in our government. We have a new county manager that was appointed just a week or two ago. He took office officially on Monday, I believe. Frank Rodriguez. He's a very good man. And he was appointed despite my strong opposition. I simply didn't believe that an outgoing Board of County Commissioners should be appointing and hiring someone that the new county Board of Commissioners will be working with for the next 4 years. So my opposition was heard,
and they continue to go on, and they hired Frank Rodriguez. Like I said, he's a good man, and his service in the military and law enforcement have made him into a dedicated and disciplined public servant. And I'm hopeful that he will hold our county departments to the highest standards when it comes to managing the resources of Montrose County on behalf of our taxpayers. And I'm looking forward to working with Frank and the new Board of County Commissioners to do the work of our county. As a county commissioner-elect, basically, I'm frequently asked, who is it out of the two who will be speaking soon that you would like to work with from District 3? So you're going to hear from them right after me, and I will be listening to them very intently, and I'll hear what they have to say and see how their vision and priorities aligns with mine. I'm hopeful that the voters are receptive to my priorities that I've outlined, and you guys will vote accordingly. I want to take my campaign hat off for a moment and speak to you as a regular citizen. This is a pivotal election for all of us here in Colorado. We have a state senate that is just one seat away from having a supermajority. This means we are on the verge of becoming a one-party state who will have unchecked power over our lives and our future. If you're Republican or Democrat, progressive or conservative, this is a dangerous position to be in. Conservative candidates like Larry Don Suckla and Marc Catlin in the State House and the Senate, they have served the people well and are eager to serve you and represent you now. Even if you're a progressive voter and a progressive citizen, consider this. What do you got to lose if you elect these two guys? You know, you put them in the office, you will be represented on the western slope. You'll still have a majority in the State House, so you really don't have a lot of risk there. However, if the Democrats, is that my time up? Oh gosh, real quickly, if you'll still be represented, if the Democrats on the Front Range decide to betray you, you have no recourse. It's low risk. Put these two guys into office, you have an insurance policy, you still enjoy your majority, and that's it. I'll be at the Wild Horse after this, and Jeff Hurd will be there at 3 o'clock today, so if you want to stop by and continue the conversation, we'll be there. Thank you, and thank you for your support.
Well, good morning. I want to thank the facilitators of the forum for hosting this event. I think it is very important that you hear from the candidates all the way up to the national level, because this election is important. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from East Tennessee. I served 21 years in the Army, 19 months in Vietnam, where I earned the Bronze Star with V device for valor. I earned it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my service. You know, I was doing some reflecting back, and I thought, when did my character and my values start to form? Well, I can tell you it was at about 7 years old. My grandfather was a red dirt farmer, and he had an acre and a half of early tobacco, and every family member was in the tobacco field in the summer. If you were old enough to walk, you were going to be there. And I remember my grandfather always said, without you, we can't survive. I've been married to my wife, Karen, a Montrose resident, for 53 years. Together we have 3 grown sons, 8 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren, with number 5 on the way. They're making me old, is what they're doing. But my wife's family is 4th generation ranchers that still ranch on a ranch southeast of Montrose since 1917. And I've heard people stand up here and talk about water. Well, you know, I've watched how important water is to those people that depend on it. The ranchers, the farmers. Agriculture in this valley is everything. It always has been, and it will always be a part of this valley. And without our water, we have nothing. As county commissioner, I've been asked, why do you want to be a county commissioner? I've spent 43 years in Montrose. I've been involved in Montrose ever since I moved here. I volunteer firefighter, was on the fair board. I've served on the 7th Judicial District court-appointed special advocacy board, which I was proud to serve on. I served on the community corrections board for a number of years. And in 2015, I was the president of the County Sheriffs of Colorado, an organization that is there to support the county sheriffs across this state in training and in support in anything that they can provide. I was proud of that year that I spent as president of that organization. I look at being county commissioner as I'm the guardian, one of the guardians of your tax dollars. It's not my money. It's not the county commissioner's money. It's your money. And as sheriff, I didn't spend money just because it was in my budget. I spent money on the needs that this county needed at the time. And if it wasn't a need, we didn't do it. And I've been criticized because I turned money back. Well, you know what? The money that went back didn't go back into the general fund. The money that went back into the Public Safety Reserve Fund to be used next year or the year after. The sheriff's office is in a dire strait right now. They need help. The city changed their starting wage to $80,000 a year. Montrose County Sheriff's Deputy does not start anywhere near that. And we have got to do something. They've lost a number of deputies to the police department. Congratulations, Blaine. They are good people. They work hard, and they provide a service to you. As far as growth in this county, I think we need to take a serious look at growth. Growth can't be managed. It can be managed on density. We don't want to outgrow the infrastructure that we have, that we can't afford to do that. We can't afford not to provide the services to these people that are coming here and building houses. It's important that we look at all those things. As I've been around the county talking to different people, one thing that I keep hearing is, I don't trust government at any level. And one of the questions I ask is, how can I gain your trust? And it's already been mentioned. People say transparency. I want to know what my government is doing. One way to do that, I think, and we used to do it here in Montrose County. I attended many of these. We held evening Board of County Commissioner meetings right here in Montrose. We held them in the west end of Montrose County, up in Crawford. We went and they went and talked to the people. And I applaud the commissioners for doing that, because it's not an easy thing to give up your evening. But you know what? You as citizens deserve to know what's going on. And I think that's one way you start to build trust. I will never tell you that I'm going to do something if I can't provide the results. That's the way I am. I served as your sheriff for 19 years. And I'm sure there are some that say, I didn't do a good job. But there's a lot that said I did. And I'm proud of that fact. And with that, I thank you all for being here, and thank the facilitators again for hosting this. I'm Rick Dunlap, County Commissioner for District 3, but I will be County Commissioner for every citizen in this county. And thank you, and I ask for your vote.
showed up that came out
Tricia.
this morning. Is it not on?
It's
Closer. Okay. Obviously, I haven't been up in front of a lot of people speaking for quite some time, so thank you for giving me just a little bit of direction here. Tricia Murray, for those of you who don't know, I'm running for Montrose County Commissioner in District 3, and I'm running on an unaffiliated ticket. Very, very unusual and different for this area, but I think that it's time for us to bring a little bit of change and a little bit of open-mindedness into our community. As Rick mentioned, we've got an issue going on here in Montrose County with growth. However, we are very, very limited to how much we can expand in Montrose County in that we're pretty much landlocked. So growth is coming, but it can be managed, and the fact is we have more unaffiliated voters in our district anymore than we do Republicans or Democrats. So it's time to look at the change, and it's time for us to come together, quit fighting over who's red, who's blue, who's right, who's wrong, who's blaming who. Come together as a people and do what needs to be done for our community, and that's what I'm here to do. A little bit of background with me. I have a bachelor's degree in communications. Originally started out in philosophy, was headed to law school, and I took an internship working at the state capitol, which put me a semester out of finishing that last semester in Latin. So it's like, we're just going to switch to my minor, which was communications, and so here I am. I have experience working with the Missouri legislature, the House of Representatives, so I understand how politics work. I understand what it takes to get a law passed, how things go through committee, and what happens at the state capitol. After I left doing the internship up at the state capitol in Missouri, I went to work for the judicial system. I started the very first circuit-wide drug court in the state of Missouri, which was a bit of a challenge at the time. It took taking all the judges, all the prosecuting attorneys, all the district attorneys, all law enforcement, all of the treatment facilitators, and bringing them together to learn a new way to deal with drug offenders. By getting this program put together, we were able to save infinite amount of money on boarding costs that you don't get back from criminals. We put criminals into the prison systems, and it's just taxpayer money out. We don't get any money out of it. So by bringing the drug offenders, people with alcohol addiction, putting them in front of a team, making them do clean drug testing for a long time, we save taxpayer dollars and we produce a safer community. Very, very proud of the work that I did with the drug court programs. Currently, I work for Montrose County. I work in the legal department as a legal assistant. Not an attorney, just a worker bee. I have worked with the legal department for 8 years now, so I've seen a lot of things going on in Montrose County. I've worked with 7 different commissioners. I've worked with 3 different county managers now, and I've worked with 2 different county attorneys. The good thing about the Montrose County Attorney's Office is we have one client. That one client is the county. That means that our office pretty much knows what's going on with each one of the different departments in the county. So while I'm not an attorney, all those contracts go across my desk over the last 8 years. All the issues that are going on with the different departments at some time or another come through our office. So I am aware of the things that have been going on over the last 8 years with Montrose County. Some of the things that, well, how'd you get up here and things go so fast? Some of the things that I'm concerned about going on with the county right now, as we have heard, is the sheriff's office, and they're severely down on their deputies. We all know that if we don't have enough law enforcement, we have more problems in the community. This is not a good situation.
I think where the argument stems from is our current PSST funding. Public safety sales tax, which was enacted in 2008, and it was put in, voted by the people at a 0.75% interest. Here's the question that I have going into it, and I would really like to look into it further. The city of Montrose imposed a PSS tax that started effective 2020. Since that time, they have been able to build a huge facility, demolish another facility, increase the rate of what they're paying their officers by $20,000 more, nearly $20,000 more than we are able to pay the sheriff's deputies. And they figured out how to provide a pension plan for the officers going in. We've had the same PSST tax in Montrose County since 2006. Why do we not have the money to fund that? I look at the budget that we submitted for 2024, and we had 31% of our total budget going to infrastructure or major capital improvements. Only 28% of that fund was to support personnel or employees. And I think that's something we need to look at. We've got some issues going on over in the West End where the community has been devastated over the years with losing their mining rights, losing some of their ranching rights, losing employment to the power services that they don't have anymore. We definitely need to pay more attention. And wow, that 7 minutes goes fast. Lots more I have to say, and my hope is that you'll jump on my website, see what you can find out. Thank you for your time. Tricia Murray, unaffiliated, Montrose County Commissioner, District 3.
Wow, that was a marathon. We thought we'd finish at 9:25 and it's 9:27. Kudos to all of you for hanging in with us. Also, kudos to all of the speakers. When we decided to set this up, I thought, now how many of them will really come to Montrose at 8 a.m. in the morning to speak to an audience they're unfamiliar with, they don't even know how many people will show up, and they came. So thanks to all of you for making the trip. Hopefully it will be worth your while. Barbara will talk about next week, but again, we can't thank you enough for hanging in there. That was a long time to be listening. Thank you.
Just stay one more second here. Like I said, the forum happens every Wednesday. Next week, well, let me back up and start with a story. Actually, it's Ellen. Ellen's been helping an elderly neighbor who has recently been scammed out of some money. And not just once, but twice. And both times, he thought that he knew exactly what he was doing. He was quite certain. He explained to Ellen, no, I know this, and yet he still got scammed. And that really played on my heart because it is something that I think when you think it can't happen to you, you actually are more vulnerable. And so I invited the Attorney General's office to come and speak with the forum next Wednesday morning. And they're going to come and talk about different forms of their program their fraud prevention program. And that includes charity fraud, insurance fraud, digital fraud, disaster fraud, military fraud, investment fraud, mail fraud, and Medicare fraud. And we've seen this as a big issue in our community even. I know we've all seen the emails or texts from or press releases from our police department and our sheriff's office saying, hey, if you've been contacted that, the sheriff, a warrant is out for your arrest, but if you just send some gift cards, we can make it go away. Okay, you laugh because that seems really obvious, but the ones that catch you up are really not as obvious, and they play on people's emotions, they play on a sense of urgency, anyway, I really urge you that even if you think you aren't vulnerable, you're actually more vulnerable if you think you aren't, to come next week and hear from the State Attorney General's office about fraud prevention and also elder abuse, because they play really closely together, and so we decided to tie both topics together for next week. I hope to see you next Wednesday morning. Anyway, have a fantastic week, and thank you again to all of our candidates.